conduit by which the American bishops would send special messages to the Holy Father, for example.
You know, we mentioned that Pope Mobile, and I do know we have a shot of it. I'd like to talk a little bit about it because, as you mentioned, the Secret Service is ready for him, and that Pope Mobile is specially built. We know it changed significantly after John Paul was shot in St. Peter's Square. It's bulletproof. It's a Mercedes Pope Mobile, and as Michael mentioned, the Secret Service conducted a trial run with a stand-in going along for the ride. Secret Service agents also walked the route anticipating the turns of it. I read in the Washington Times this morning that it costs about $500 million, that Pope Mobile, $511,000.
And as we watch the limousine there with the Vatican and U.S. flags, with the Holy Father in there, we are talking, of course, about security. Security intense here, as it is in New York. A visit by any head of state would warrant this kind of extreme security, but Pope Benedict has been a target of direct criticism by Osama bin Laden himself, and Jonathan Dean spent time with the dedicated men and women who are protecting the Pope everywhere in New York and in Washington. Jonathan joins us now with more on that. Jonathan.
Michael, David, here in the city, the NYPD has been conducting more security sweeps and drills as a precaution, gearing up for the Pope's New York arrival. From wheels down today in Washington through the Pope's departure from here Sunday, the Secret Service has spent months going over this visit minute by minute. We watched drills and spoke with many of the officials responsible for making sure all goes smoothly. Secret Service agents training up to the last minute with a Pope Mobile. In this drill, agents stayed close and used covering vehicles that will also carry members of the Pope's entourage. This to try to prevent a security breach like the one last June in Rome. After 7 months of planning and training, from bomb detection drills to sniper practice, law enforcement officials say they are ready for the Pope's visit.
I have every reason to believe it'll go well.
Experts say protecting the Pope can be as challenging, perhaps more challenging, than guarding the president, because the pontiff traditionally encourages contact with large crowds.
When there's such a public interest and there's going to be such an exposure, we've got to pay attention in great detail as to how we'll interact and how close we'll come to the public and what the access is going to be.
The biggest public event and the last on this historic visit will be a Sunday afternoon mass at Yankee Stadium, expected to draw more than 60,000 people. Officials promise a large number of uniformed officers for this and the other stops on the visit, like the United Nations and Ground Zero. Other forms of security will be harder to see. Some sniper teams who recently honed their skills for the Pope's visit will peer at the crowds from rooftops, while others will hover in the shadows. Undercovers will mill among the crowds, expected in great numbers along Fifth Avenue Saturday afternoon, as the Pope, from inside the Pope Mobile, will parade north to his papal residence on East 72nd Street.
We've made a major commitment. We'll have several thousand police officers deployed each day.
Concern heightened over recent criticism of the Pope from Osama bin Laden and Al-Qaeda's number 2, Ayman al-Zawahiri. However, officials stress there's no specific threat linked to the Pope's 6-day visit to Washington and New York.
I dearly hope that the public does show out in great numbers to enjoy the Pope's visit. We have nothing at this point that would reflect on the safety of the public.
Again, officials say no specific threats, but extraordinary security precautions are well underway. Here to talk to us more is security consultant Tom Ruskin, president of CMP Group. Tom is a former member of the NYPD's Intelligence Division and helped coordinate Pope John Paul's visits to New York. Thanks for joining us. Tom, we saw that huge caravan escorting the Pope through Washington. Talk to us about the enormous security measures that are underway.
This exceeds a presidential visit for all the magnitude of the Secret Service, the local police departments, the intelligence divisions. The intelligence that is just being compiled for his visit exceeds, as I said, a normal presidential visit to any city.
Talk to about. We see the security lines of police officers, the escort vehicles. What won't we see? But that's out there.
You won't see the normal things that happen: the removal of mailboxes, the sealing of manhole covers, the sniper teams that are hidden, the people who are undercover within the crowds, as you alluded to in your piece. You won't see those type of things. What you will see is the uniform presence, as well as the Secret Service presence, the New York City Police Department Intelligence Division presence, protecting the Pope.
Top concern for security officials: lone actor, organized terror plot, the huge crowds. What's the biggest concern?
All of them. They have to anticipate from the lone person to the organized group doing something, or the unusual occurrence that could happen somewhere else to try and divert attention to something else in the city away from the protection detail. It's something that's going to be closely monitored by the New York City Police Department as well as the Secret Service.
Talk to us about this so-called rings of security. How do you protect a public event, ground zero? You've got huge office towers and apartment buildings surrounding that. Yankee Stadium, huge crowds, apartment buildings. How do you secure with the weapons that exist today? How do you make that type of visit safe?
Well, what you do is you anticipate where you would go if you were that person trying to lodge an attack or launch an attack on the principal, the Pope in this case. What you want to do is you're going to take the high area, you're going to take those areas that possibly could be an area where someone could hurt the Pope or attempt to hurt the Pope, and you're going to secure those areas, and you're not going to allow anyone above you. It'll be monitored by helicopters. And remember, the people on the ground are also monitoring air quality, biological, as well as nuclear possible alerts.
Talk to us. It's not just security threats. There's the health concerns, hospitals, ambulances. What goes into a visit like this?
What goes into a visit like this exceeds, as I said, a presidential visit. Everywhere that the Pope is, there is an emergency room on standby. There is emergency routes. There's an A route, a B route, a C route. In case something happens on that route, which may not be a security concern, it could be a broken down car. They will move the route to a different route. As far as emergency procedures, they have set this in place. They have tested it for months and months and months. There is emergency rooms on standby with a cadre of doctors just standing by in case, not that he gets injured, but if he gets sick.
And last question for you. In terms of this city, you've organized lots of events like this for the public, the traffic, the security they're going to see when the Pope's here in New York. What should they expect?
Well, traffic is going to be a pain in the butt. It really is. It's really going to be troublesome. But New Yorkers are very adaptable. They understand. The news media tells pretty much the areas of concern that day, where traffic's going to be. And as far as security, I think the people should go out and enjoy it and try and get a view of the Pope and enjoy the fact that a Pope hasn't been here in 13, 14 years.
Tom Ruskin, thank you so much for taking the time out to join us. Again, security experts say no threats to the Pope. They're expecting the visits in Washington and New York to go smoothly and that the public should enjoy it. David, Michael, back to you.
Jonathan, thank you very much. We're joined now by a special guest.